Hey everyone, welcome back to 996 The Howl, and this season's finally upon us. Thursday night on the road against the Pittsburgh Penguins. They start the road for their first 6 games, then they're home for 4 games, and then back on the road for 14 games. So these first, couple months of the season are going to be a bit rough on the Coyotes. But let's get into it. Let's start off with some good news because last video, the goaltending situation was really depressing, and right after the video, a goalie which I had my eyes on went on waivers. Conor Ingram. I knew Nashville, since picking up Lankinen, would have to send Ingram through waivers if they wanted Lankinen, as a backup with Saros. Ingram was not waivers exempt, so it was obvious to me. Not sure. Maybe Bill Armstrong wanted some insurance in case Nashville didn't send Ingram through waivers because they picked up Johansson just a week ago or just 10 days ago. And he got injured, Johannes did, and then Ingram was on waivers. I was praying to the gods Bill Armstrong would pick him up, and he did. So now I'm confidently comfortable with this backup tandem or goalie tandem of Vejmelka and Ingram. Should make for some competitive hockey. I'm not, expecting Ingram to win so many games and steal games for the Coyotes. I expect Ingram to just be a calm presence back there, not be as demoralizing as Johansson or Gillies. Just stop the pucks. He should. Don't steal games and just make hockey fun again to watch. Because if Johansson, I watched some highlights with Johansson in the preseason. Some of those goals they're just backbreakers, not fun to watch. I just want watchable hockey, and this tandem of goalies, makes that happen. So it's great that we got Vejmelka and Ingram. Johansson, like I said, is injured, so that's why he's in red. We'll go to the forwards. Maybe a couple surprises. Gunther and Michelli made the roster. Hopefully, from my perspective, Gunther just plays 9 games and gets sent back to juniors. I really don't want for them to burn the first contract year of Gunther. It's planned to be another tank year. It might be miserable at times. So for Gunther to experience that, maybe, get him used to playing on the road in the NHL, visiting different cities, get a feel for the NHL routine, the day-to-day, and then get sent down. I'm not saying he's going to play the first 9 games and then get sent down. He could get scratched, a couple games here or there to make his time with the Coyotes, extended. Maybe they play him, maybe they hold on to him from to play a couple of home games near the end of October. A lot of things could happen with Gunther, but I expect him to be sent down to juniors after the 9 games. Obviously, he can't go to the Tucson Roadrunners because he plays in the Canadian Hockey League and he's not 20 years old yet. Just a little rule there that kind of doesn't make sense compared to other leagues, other minor leagues around North America and Europe. Michelli is also a surprise to make the roster. A young, skilled, speedy guy. Hopefully he has more of an impact on the Coyotes compared to last season. He started off pretty strong last season, pretty flashy, but as games went on, he was, unnoticeable, not using his skill, not creating space for himself. So hopefully he comes in this year and we see some big things out of him. I'm surprised Jan Yannick is not on the roster, but I think with Gunther being sent down, Yannick would be, a first call up on the wing. Big body guy, could play physical. Sort of the MO the Coyotes are going for this season, being a heavy, physical, relentless team. And Yannick fits that bill, so I would assume Yannick would show up sooner rather than later in this upcoming season. Like I said, when Gunther gets sent down, maybe Yannick takes that spot. These lines, they're my idea of the lines. If I was a coach, these would be the lines, but obviously, being a Coyotes fan, I just know Bukestad's going to be our second line center. Hopefully not. I really hope Hayden feels comfortable in that second line center role. I know last year they were sheltering Hayden on the third line, and he performed really well once taken off from top line opposition. But, Hayden just signed that contract. I want him to take the next step forward, be comfortable in the second line center position. I'm not looking to him to be first line center. That's a bit too much, but come on. Hayden's got to be our second line center here. I have him with, Nick Ritchie. They're a dynamic duo. At the end of last season, they were together in the preseason for 5 games, so I put them together. And then Lawson Krause on the second line. He's getting paid almost $5 million. He's got to be in your top 6. If he's on your third line getting that much money, not sure what's going on there. So that's the sense I was trying to make there. And then third line, you got Michelli, Bukestad, Gunther. I know it's a bit too much goal scoring on the wings, and I'm sure Cassian's going to be somewhere in the mix in the top 9. So that's a bit wishful thinking that Michelli and Gunther will be on the same line. But you never know. I agree that Cassian looks a bit low here, considering how the Coyotes play. Cassian's going to get more ice time, probably be in the top 9 rather than a 4th line role. But this is what I would want to see, even though I know it's not going to happen. And then the 4th line, Fisher, Mcbain, Cassian. Mcbain solidified himself as a 4th line centerman. He had a huge impact during the rookie tournament. He had an okay preseason. But if he brings that energy night in and night out, he's showing some skill and confidence with the puck, paired with Fisher, who should be relentless every game and be a competitive physical presence. It could make for a good 4th line, but if one of them on the wings kind of loses their job, there's O'Brien waiting in the wings. He's our enforcer, our fighter. He won't play every game, but he will be scratching in the press box and suited up for games where the coaching staff wants a physical presence, maybe a fight, maybe a rivalry, maybe a previous game there was some bad blood, so they would dress O'Brien. McCartney made the team as well, but he's injured, so that's why I did not put him on the lineups. Big body guy, young guy, has speed, physical, so he could fit in on the third line with Bukestad. Pretty much plays like a Bukestad type style, body position first, gets the puck, not too much skill, but young enough where he can make some nice plays. And then on defense, we'll start with the pickup. They picked up Valimaki on waivers as well. Drafted 16th overall in 2017 by the Calgary Flames. Hasn't really done much in the NHL. He's got 16 points in 82 games played in the NHL. He used to play in Finland during the pause, and Michelli and Barrett Hayden played on the same team as Valimaki, so some familiarity there. He's a young guy, 24 years old, so he's been dealing with injuries as well in Calgary, so maybe a fresh start. They put him in some positions that are favorable, and maybe he grows to be that first round pick that he was touted to be. It's a pretty good pickup. We'll see. I don't have him in the lineup because he's got to practice with the team. You can't just pick him up on waivers and he's already making the roster. And Chychrun is injured as well. Should mention that. So that's why you got Stetcher with Timmins, Moser and Ghost, Nemeth with Mayo. Hopefully Nemeth wouldn't be there if Chychrun was healthy. So it's unfortunate to see Nemeth be playing and on the roster, but I'm looking at him to just be a big body presence in front of the net. Don't make defensive mistakes, and hopefully we don't hear his name much during the broadcast. Same with Brown. He's a big physical defenseman. I know that's what we were missing last season, and they got some size with Nemeth and Brown on the back end. I just hope they don't make too many defensive errors and they don't look out of place on the ice. If they're big physical defensemen, just clear out the crease and make sure the goalie could look for some shots and not get screened on the majority of plays. Like I said, the goalie situation is much better. I should talk about Ingram's stats. Some people say he's one of the best American Hockey League goalies. He had a .933 save percentage in 2019-2020, and then during the short 21 season, he was on a taxi squad with Nashville. Didn't play too many games. He only played like 15 games in between American Hockey League and some other leagues during that shortened season. It looks like to me that Nashville didn't even play him in that shortened season. And then this most recent season, he had a .915 save percentage in the American Hockey League. Only played 3 games with Nashville in the regular season, but then he was playing in the playoffs against the Avalanche when Saros was injured near the end of the season. And he had a .913 save percentage against the Stanley Cup champions. So that's pretty good. as a comparable, Darcy Kemper had an 893 against Colorado when the Coyotes faced the Avalanche in the playoffs. So it was sort of like the same situation. The Avalanche were huge favorites to beat Nashville in the first round, just like how they were against the Coyotes. But, Kemper stood on his head, did as much as he could to win out a game here and there. I think they won one game in that playoff series. They did win one game. And then just like Kemper, Ingram was standing tall in that series against Colorado when he was on Nashville. So sort of some similarities there. I think Ingram could grow and be a great goaltender. He's still young. He's 25 years old. And we know goalies start to hit their prime and hit their stride when they get older. So I think it's a wonderful pickup. It's low risk. It makes fans happy, makes fans comfortable watching the team, and it makes players on the ice just comfortable. They don't have to worry about every shot that gets taken from a bad angle going in the net if Johansson and Gillies were in net. Now they have so many goalies. They have 3 goalies up with the Coyotes. They have 3 goalies down in Tucson. They have Tendek, Prosvetov, and Gillies was sent down to Tucson. So, I'm hoping Tendek doesn't get pushed to the East Coast Hockey League with their affiliate, the Atlanta Gladiators, new affiliate. So I'm hoping Tendek gets American Hockey League time. Hopefully it's Gillies that goes to the East Coast League. But the last time we tried to send a goaltender there was Louis Domingue, and he did not have it and requested a trade and badmouthed the Coyotes organization. So hopefully another situation like that doesn't happen. But yeah, too many goalies. Maybe one too many pickups by Bill Armstrong just for insurance. Hopefully it doesn't, derail Tendek's, development, because I want Tendek to see a lot of American Hockey League ice time as a backup to Prosvetov. They only are allowed to hold 23 players. So everyone in black, that's 20 players. And then in red, McCartney, Chychrun, and Johansson are injured, so they don't count. So O'Brien, Valimaki, and Brown are the extras. So once these guys start to get healthy, they may need to send players down or make some roster movements because they'll have too many players on the roster. You only can hold 23 healthy players. So, maybe Johansson's injury extends a little bit more so they don't have to play with the American Hockey League goalies. Maybe Chychrun's injury is a bit long, so they hold Valimaki and Brown on the roster. But I'm sure they want to keep Valimaki up. Maybe he's insurance for a Chychrun trade that's happening soon because, they have 9 defensemen, not including Chychrun, who has an injury. So that's a lot of defensemen to hold, to have on your roster, and they have that extra goalie in Johansson. So just things to think about. Maybe there's a trade happening that we don't know about that's coming to finalization, but at first glance, they got way too many defensemen on their roster. So once people start to get healthy, expect to see some roster movements either through a trade or people getting sent on waivers. So move on to the second part of the video, my expectations for this upcoming season. I know I'm not expecting playoffs. I'm not going to put down you better win first overall in the lottery, because it is a lottery, and no matter what you do, you can't control the fate and play of other teams. I mean, no one knew the Montreal Canadiens would be that bad last season, considering they came from the Stanley Cup Finals just a few months prior. So let's just get into it. I will start with no steps back. What I'm referring to is players like Clayton Keller, Nick Schmaltz, Lawson Krause, Barrett Hayden, even Travis Boyd. They all had career years last year. I don't want to see them taking a step back. We've been burned like that before. In Rick Tocchet's first year, Clayton Keller had an amazing rookie season. He was in Calder voting. We were so excited for Keller to lead this team, out of the basement. And then subsequent seasons, he kind of takes a step back. Isn't that highly offensive anymore. Nick Schmaltz gets thrown to the fourth line sometimes under Rick Tocchet. So it's a new coaching staff. They already have one season under their belt. Going into the next season, let's see how players respond. Do players take steps forward? Do they maintain their pace? I am okay with Keller and Schmaltz maintaining their pace, Krause maintaining their pace. As long as it's not a step back. For Hayden, I want to see a step forward. I don't want to see a consistent pace again. He's young enough and should be getting to a point where he's taking big strides, whereas Keller and Schmaltz are just about to hit that age where you kind of know what you're getting. So I don't want to see them, flounder the opportunity. Just continue to be, 65-point players, maybe increase that a little bit. And then Krause, you got to hit that 20 goals. You're getting paid to score 20 goals. And hopefully Boyd, Keller, and Schmaltz, they're a fire line last season. So hopefully sticking together again, they continue to be, an offensive presence and a threat to the opposition. Next, we'll go to face-off percentage. I should probably write it before I say it. Considering it is going to be a rough year, I want the Coyotes to concentrate on the details of the game, start that foundation so that when they do get talent on their roster, those details that they focused on this season and last season just gets built upon. They were pretty bad at faceoffs last year, 47% for 29th in the league. I want them to be at least, in the middle of the pack, 15th, 16th overall in the league. I need some of these young players to have over 50% face-off percentage. Our best face-off takers last season were Beagle, Galchenyuk, surprisingly, and Riley Nash, and neither of them are on the team anymore. And then everyone else was below 50%. So I want them to concentrate on face-offs, start being a good face-off team. Just because you're good at face-offs doesn't mean you make the playoffs and you're good. You look at Philadelphia, Vancouver, and the Islanders finished all top 10 in face-off percentage, and neither of them made the playoffs. So it's doable. You could concentrate on small details of the game and still be in that tank mode. Something similar to face-offs is the penalty kill. Really bad last season. 75%. They were way at the bottom of the league, I think 31st. The NHL average is 79%, so they got to get to at least NHL average. And then I would like to see it over 80%. Again, be in the middle of the league, 15th, 16th overall in terms of penalty kill. Again, just like faceoffs, if you're a great penalty killing team, it doesn't mean you make the playoffs. San Jose finished second place in penalty killing last season, and they were a lottery team as well. So it's a detail. It's something that I would like to see the Coyotes improve on. Just to, whenever they go on the penalty kill, I don't want to be, in the back of my head saying, here we go, the other team's going to score here, we're going to lose momentum. Try to gain momentum from the penalty kill. These young players should be comfortable on the penalty kill. It's going to be a young roster moving forward from here on out. It's not going to be like last year where they have all those veteran anchors on their roster. So these young players need to be comfortable on the PK. I liked seeing Keller, Schmaltz, and Hayden on the PK last year. Hopefully that continues. It's not just a one-off, and they start excelling on the penalty kill. For number 4, go with less blowouts. They had 16 blowouts last season. To me, a blowout is losing by 4 goals or more. And they lost 50 games in regulation last season. So that's 32% of their losses last season were blowouts. And a blowout's just hard to watch. It's hard to sit through the whole game. Those games where it's like 3-0 in the first period and you're like, I got another hour and a half to watch this game. Just less things like that, less blowouts. Yes, there's odd games here and there, but for 32% of your regulation losses being 4 or more goals, that needs to be shrunk down to like 5 or 10%. So let's say they do lose like 45 games in regulation this year, only 4 of them are blowouts. That would be, digestible for me. But it's just demoralizing. It's hard to get up for the next game. The next morning kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. The players are sad. Their post interviews are sad. And when you lose a close game, 5-4, 3-1, 4-2, the next day at practice, you're feeling good. You can tell yourself, hey, we're right there. We're in that game. Just a few bounces going our way, and you feel good. It's better practice morale. up-tempo practices rather than going into practice and you're like, oh, we lost 9-1 last night. What the hell was that? What are we doing here? So more close games. They're fun to watch for fans. And speaking of fans, we'll go to my last point because I keep forgetting this, even though I shouldn't. But the home experience. Now, we know that they're going to move to a smaller arena this season. The first game's October 28th against Winnipeg. A bit, sentimental with their opposition being the Winnipeg Jets. But, it's going to be a smaller arena. It's going to be packed. It's going to be sold out. There's going to be way more Coyotes fans now at home games compared to other seasons. The whole time when they're in Glendale, whenever teams like Chicago or Original Six team or Anaheim, like a California team, or the Avalanche, it was more like the away team had more fans at the game than Coyotes fans. And now that's going to change. There's going to be way more Coyotes fans. Pretty much all of them are going to be Coyotes fans since tickets were exclusively sold to residents in the Arizona state. So with less blowouts and more competitive games, I want the home atmosphere to be electric, loud. They're in it all game. Because if you have a blowout, if it's 4-0 after the first period, and people start leaving the game just like they did in Glendale, I watched a handful of games at Glendale. If it's a bad game after the second period, everyone just funnels out. So if it's a 5,000 seat arena and people start leaving the game because of a blowout, it's going to be so obvious on TV if it wasn't obvious already in Glendale. So competitive games lead to good home atmosphere. Hopefully the crowd gets into it. There's going to be a lot of fighting, a lot of physicalness with guys like Cassian and Bukestad and hopefully McCartney and Yannick on the roster. So it's going to be hard hitting. Fans should be into it. It should be a great atmosphere. Just to overcompensate for the small arena and the jokes that mainstream media is going to have for the team. If the organization, the team, and the fans can make it a great experience, then they really have nothing to make fun of. And people would want to come back for more because we're there for at least 3 more seasons with the option of going for a 4th season. So that's it. We're coming up to the start of the season. And it's going to be, like I said, it's 6 games to start the season on the road. It's going to be rough. We're on the East Coast. You're starting with, Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. I'm just hoping for that first game, be physical, play your new MO, which is be relentless on the puck, make the Pittsburgh Penguins work for that win. I'm not expecting a win on the first night, but I'm expecting to see good things. Like I said, be good on the penalty kill, be good on face-offs. Don't get demoralized if you're down early 1-0 or 2-0. Just stay in the game, make it competitive, and pretty much just have fun out there. And for fans, just have fun watching these games. That's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, spread the word. And as always, thank you for your support. This team's going to kill me. Why can't they just move to Quebec? I don't even think I can handle this anymore. Just frustrating, man. Oh, is the camera on? Oh,